Peace, man. I know it's a late one. We live here. I had to switch real quick. We live on YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn real quick. So I'm gonna do a real quick show for y'all. I know it's been like damn near a month, right?
MIA for a minute.
Right. It's just been super duper busy. It's that time of year for mortgages. So y'all keep them coming. Want y'all to comment, man. What y'all thinking? You think I should go out grades, or I'm too young for that, So I was not.
Keep it the salt and pepper. Then keep it the salt and pepper. Vote on that.
Well, shit, I got more than salt and pepper. I got salt and pepper, cinnamon. I got a little everything in there. So let's go.
You got to brag about having good hair,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
I'm looking like Paul Malcolm X. Paul Malcolm X with the red hair now, Let's go ahead and get it going, man. All right, so I'm Brandon B. Dixon, NMLS 1541210. It's at being the Logan Officer on all social media, especially YouTube. Y'all like, subscribe. Even tonight, if y'all want to comment, go ahead. I'll go ahead and read it, and we'll react to it. Go to my website, www.applywithb.com. Or you can call me 832-775-8357. You call me 24/7. Also, if you want to list or rent or lease, go to my website, www.brandonbdixon.com. I do it all, commercial, whatever you need. Last but not least, you got cocinvestmentclub.com. If you want to get in our investment club, you want to mitigate your risk, come on, get with us, man. We doing it. Corey, I got you set up.
Bet Corey Smith, broker owner, Commodore Mortgage, also broker owner of Smithsonian Realty Group. Look us up, for all your real estate needs.
Gotcha. Let's just hop right in it because I got some clips. I really had the clips from like 2 weeks ago, so I still, and I think I got a couple other ones that I added, but let's go ahead and run it and, get it going here. I don't remember the theme. I know I got like a hodgepodge of different stuff. So let's go ahead and get going, man. Let's go ahead with the first one. Bam. Actually, where is it? Here we go.
Plummeted. They dropped 22% this year from the year prior due to Texas's approach. Austin deregulated, made it even easier to build real estate, which is a statement for us doing business in California. They put 50,000 new units online. There was oversaturation. Prices dropped. I was in Arizona last week. I told you this, that when you go there and you see all the development, you see it, you hear it. I mean, it is crazy growth.
We saw it when we were in Idaho together, 6 months ago?
Same, yeah.
I mean, everywhere we turned, there was construction.
Yeah, it looks nothing like California. And then hearing them, occupancy is dropping. They're having to give rent concessions because of it. So if you really want to solve it long term, it's adding supply. But I would say that those two examples, it's not even that long term. I mean, they did this within 3 years. California's not.
Their gap when they started, though, was not as significant as where California is.
Yeah, because
even before they deregulated, the margin of where they needed to be versus where they were was not as wide as where it is in California.
Okay, that's fair. That's a totally fair point. Looking at California, though, California as a whole is not really taking that approach, are they?
Correct.
Or you can say they're trying to find more ways to make real estate easier to build, but mainly due to probably CEQA. Even with the little things they're doing, it's still brutal. We just saw this year that Texas rents plummet.
Man, what you got on?
Man, the one thing that I see, that's the issue for me is California, man. California has one of the toughest markets when it comes to real estate. The appreciation is great, but when you talk about everything else from an investor standpoint, rehabbing, new construction, or whatever the case may be, The one thing that, you know what I'm saying, I consistently hear is that it takes forever to be able to, you know, build, to be able to remodel, just because of permits and all this other stuff. I'm not necessarily sure what's the bottleneck, but it's not surprising to understand, you know what I'm saying, why California has the real estate issues that they do have, just because I don't know what's going on with the government and what they have going on. But long story short, you know what I'm saying, the rents plummeting in Texas. I did see a dip a little bit just because of the oversaturation of options as far as rental, because of the actual market, because of rates and all this other good jazz. You know what I'm saying? People have been choosing to rent more than actual to actual purchase. But I do think Texas, regardless of that, you know, from the numbers, I think Texas is one of the strongest markets out there. Regardless, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to investment, Texas is where you want to be. When it comes to actually making the deals work and making numbers work and getting the cash flow that you need, Texas is where you need to be. So don't let that statement fool you. There's been a little bit of a dip, but Texas is still the market that you want to be in.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, I think California. Let's call it what it is. You know, this blue state. They over regulated with the red tape. You know, it's too much regulation. That's why everything's gridlocked out there. You know, that's why most builders come to Texas, because they could, you know, put up a mud, you know, for the water and the utilities, and keep going. The developers make their money real quick. They don't want to have their money tied up for years upon years and gridlock fighting with the government, you know. So that's why real estate's so expensive in California, because resales become even more valuable because they're not building new houses. So it's a cycle. Like, that's why you got $1 million, a house that'll be $1 million, and it's a shack. You know, so that's part of the issue why real estate's so high out there. As far as going to where Texas rent dropped, yeah, I think everybody, there was a mad rush. There was 2 mad rushes last year, and I think the year before, 23 and 24. 24 obviously because of the fires, and then 23 because of the actual flooding, and the insurance went sky high. Everybody was moving from California to Texas. So what the builders did, they overguessed how much. And a lot of, you know, apartment complexes would get thrown up, and you know, a lot of people made a mad dash to Texas. However, it became more inventory than they actually had people getting the rent. So what happens is people starting to cut prices, you know, because, you know, they had too much inventory. You know, also they finding out, I don't know if you're seeing this, that the qualifications are becoming more to rent than it is to buy. And there's not enough of qualified buyers. Like, how many people make 3.5 times the rent?
Yep.
How many people have the A1 credit? You know, don't forget the at least you have a government standard with buying. Everything got to be equal. It's still up to the owner who you want to let in their house. A lot of times, the owner standards be higher than what you need to buy. You know, you want A1 credit, or 3.5 times the rent. You want first month, last month. That pool of qualified, in your mind, applicants are not there. If that was the case, they'll be buying. You know, so that's why there's so much vacancies, and when the vacancies, they start slashing prices. That's why the rent is slightly dipping.
Here's the other thing, you know what I'm saying? Regardless if you're a mortgage person, you know what I'm saying, with somebody trying to purchase a house, or you're a landlord, what it boils down to is your ability to repay. Right. There's a lot of unfinancially savvy people that's out there, you know what I'm saying? And then they think that they can afford something, but they have no idea that they can afford it. right? So, you know what I'm saying? They see the bells and whistles. Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? I'll work extra shifts, or, you know what I'm saying? I'll do X, Y, Z. In their mind, they've already decided that I'll do ABC in order to be able to make this rent that I can't afford, or this lease that I can't afford. So as a landlord, you know what I'm saying, there's stop losses put in place to make sure that I save you from yourself. I'm not going to put you into this property. Your car breaks down, you have a blown tire, whatever the case may be. Now you can't pay rent. Now I have to deal with the fact of I have to evict you or go through the process of evicting you, hoping that you don't tear up my property. So, you know, even though it's frustrating, you know what I'm saying, it has to be to the point now where landlords are actually treating you like mortgage loan officers. Like, you know what I'm saying? I need to look through your financials and see where you stand. I need to understand your financial stability before I approve you and put you into my property. So understand that, you know what I'm saying? It's no longer, oh, well, you know what I'm saying, a 500 credit score, I'll just rent. You know, somebody will lease to me, I'll get a place. Because now it's becoming more and more difficult for you to find a place. Because there's nobody, unless the house is almost falling down or the house is in bad condition, they're willing to accept the exception. You have a 500 credit score, you haven't paid nobody on time. Well, I know nobody's going to take this, you know, this house because of the condition that it's in. I'll take you in.
Right.
And chances are, you know what I'm saying, those two don't go together. The person that actually has the fucked up financial situation is the person that's the most pickiest about the house. Right.
Well, don't forget, there's another layer to renting. Like, not only going to have to check all these boxes, but then they're going to want you with a clean background too.
Correct.
So that's, you don't have to have a clean background in order to buy something. That's irrelevant. You know, so not only I gotta have this, but I gotta be squeaky clean too. Everybody in the house. Everybody in the house is gonna be living there, gotta have the background check. So now that's why they have so many vacant rentals. The rent spiked up and got out of control. Now you gotta find somebody that had 3 times the rent, you know, and wages haven't improved. So you X a lot of people out. That type of person that got that much income, most likely they're gonna buy something.
Or you go to Section 8.
You know, so let's hit this next one.
All right.
Let's go to the next one right here. I got a few here.
2 years ago, the average cost of a house in this country was $215,000. Today, it's $400,000, and the interest rates you're going to pay on that house have gone from 1% to 7%. So you're paying 10 times as much for that house you were 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I have 7 kids. They're all between 20, 35 years old. They should be moving into their own homes. Mm-hmm. I don't know any of them or any of their friends who are actually buying a home. And one of the reasons for why did the price of housing go up? Well, one, because of the inflation, because we spent $8 trillion on wars and $16 trillion on COVID, which we didn't have. So they print money, which caused the price of everything to go up. More importantly, there's 3 giant corporations, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which collectively, they own each other. So it's really one giant corporation. But they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. They literally are trying to buy everything. And the head of it, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is on the board of that World Economic Forum, and what they've said, we want this great reset, which is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, they're on their way to making sure that we don't own anything. So you all probably have heard of people who are about to buy a home, and somebody comes in at the last minute with a cash or offer and snatches out of the market. Right. And it's usually an LLC with an ambiguous name. But if you trace that up, you'll find it's owned by BlackRock. Wow. And because they have a huge bank book, the cost of money and interest in them is tiny, which means they can outcompete your children. Mm. Your kids do not have a chance to buy that home because they can't outcompete BlackRock.
All right, what you got on?
Rapping or capping, huh? I definitely think he's capping, right? So uh, I think there's some components of what he's saying that's accurate for sure. BlackRock is a major player. You know what I'm saying? They are trying to focus on residential. Residential is not going to get them the investment return that commercial would. There's a point where, you know what I'm saying, commercial has actually been hurting as a market. And then you try to focus and try to, diversify yourself and go into residential. When it comes to actual purchasing of the homes, when there's new construction builds, BlackRock is not coming in telling KB Homes or DR Horton, hey, look, I see you guys are building 100 homes in this community. I want all 100 of them, right? So they're not coming in buying houses like that. What they're looking for is deals. They're looking for the houses that's in foreclosure. They're looking for the houses that the owner can no longer afford to make the payments. They're looking for deals. It's not necessarily you competing for a house that you're looking to try to live in yourself, depending on the actual condition. So I think when he also talks about interest rates, he's talking about 1 to 7%. Like, I don't know when we was ever at 1%, right? You know what I'm saying? So we got close to the twos, low twos, you know what I'm saying? Depending on if you pay discount points, maybe you got to a 2 or whatever the case may be. But for the majority of we never got to 1%. Never. So when he got to that, you know what I'm saying? I think he's kind of over exaggerating the scare tactic that, to me, you know what I'm saying, he's trying to put out there to the people. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. If you're just trying to find a house for your family, there's always going to be houses out there. There's not going to be a company that comes in, you know what I'm saying, LLC or whatever the case may be, and buys it up from underneath you. I just think, you know what I'm saying, those are more competition for investors rather than, you know what I'm saying, people that's looking for a primary residence. So long story short, I think he's capping. Some components of it you can take and put up underneath your hat, take heed to it. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about BlackRock. You don't have to worry about what they're doing and their strategy moving forward.
I mean, I think you're missing the bigger picture of what he's saying. I get it. The common folk really don't have to worry about the big picture. I get it. But he's talking an overall overarching thing. This is real. This is facts. You can't deny if they continue on the current trajectory, they'll own 62% of the single family market. That's the majority. What I think is the future, and there's a lot of articles supporting this, is that it's going to be a freelance society. They're saying 40 to 50. There's another thing. I might have it as a down the line. I think I said it. But they're saying 40 to 50% of the jobs in the next 5 years are going to be eliminated, and more people are going to be freelancing, remote working, different things like that. So that's why commercial is not going to bounce. Commercial is definitely more lucrative, but I think commercial is going to be at a plateau for a little while because people are not building the offices that they used to. It's going to be more shared space. And I think that's where residential is going as well, shared space. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be more of freelancing, people moving around, more people per household. I think that's the future. I think we got to reimagine 10, 15 years from now. I think it's going to be looking at just like shared rides with Uber. Mm-hmm. I think shared space is going to be the next thing. With where the split pad, where you got 9 rooms, in a room for a month or two, and want to live, bounce around. It's like Uber. You don't necessarily have to have a car. You could bounce around and do perfectly well just by having somebody pick you up. And now you're paying a premium. However, in some situations, Uber, if you don't drive that much, using the ride sharing services might be cheaper than the car now. So I think that's where they're going to get it to, where instead of renting, where the rent prices are exclusively, or buying, where it's going to be more lucrative to share space. I think that's where it's going, and I think that's what BlackRock and Vanguard, which is all the same company, I think that's where they're going with this. I think that's going to be the future. So do they have to compete? Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you're not going to, there's always going to be homes available. However, are you going to be able to afford those homes? Is the big question. Let's talk about the previous slide, the previous clip. Wages are stagnant, prices are going crazy. Regardless of I actually did a deal at 1.9 and at CMG. Actually, in fact, I bought it down. Like I said, as far as I took 90 bips. I know remember the CMG, the 90 bip thing, but I actually locked my cousin in at 1.9. So it is at one now. You know what I'm saying? So I know what he meant, but so there is 1.9. I did a couple at 2.125. So that if you had 800 credit score, there was some high ones, low twos out there for sure. I did it. I experienced it. But however, the point is now at 7, 6 if you buy down. So the same house is not the same amount. However, the wages stayed the same. So that's the point, is that you're not going to be, and the houses, the prices of the house went astronomical. So that same house, you're not going to be able to afford that. And you've seen it. We all seen it. That all day, every day, 4 5 years ago, I could get a teacher salary by themselves. Even with the student loans, I could get them in the house. Not no more. They need a cosigner. They need some extra job. They need something else. They don't have the income at 60,000, 55,000 to afford that house anymore. I've seen it all this year, all last year. They just don't have enough. They need a cosigner, or they have to do something with the student loan, get them in deferment. So, but I used to all the time get teachers, coaches, stuff like that, at $55,000, $60,000, and get them in $100,000, 180 decent house, 165 decent house. And I used to do at least about 20 of them a year. That's gone. We all seen that. So that's the point. He said that same house is 300,000 to the 295, 285s. Let's be real. That's in our market. They can't afford it, and the rate is triple no more. So they can't afford it no more. I used to 12 to 15 that day, all day, all in. When last time you seen a $1,200 all in payment? Been a minute, right? Now you 21, 22.
Yeah.
My average family, that's $1,000 swing. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you said it all depends on where you're looking. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Right, but where can you find right now a $1,200 all in note with more insurance and everything?
Well, it depends on what kind of house you're trying to. It depends on what your qualifications are. You know what I'm saying? What kind of house you're trying to look for, right?
No. Let's be for real.
I don't in Texas, and especially Houston, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you have to be at $300,000 in order to find a decent house that you can live in.
Well,
you can no longer $200,000 is now a stretch, which it used to be the average. $200,000 is a stretch now. So now you're looking at more 250-ish in that range. But you don't necessarily have to be $300,000. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm saying, when the last time you're missing the point? When the last time you seen a $1,200 note all in?
It's been a minute.
Right.
It's been a minute. But I'm saying
when I first started, they were in the hundreds. So you can get
what was in the hundreds?
Yeah, you could get like $900, $800 all in.
Depending on, if you was in South
Florida,
some
10 years ago.
Well, we talking about 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Just the natural appreciation now. It's out of there. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we can't compare the prices now to what they're going to be 10 years from now.
My point is that was 10 years ago. I've done before. You can't tell me what I've done this before, where it's $875 all in. Now you talking about $120,000, $150,000 house, but it was decent back then. Now that same house is going to be $250,000.
It's not the same. It's not the same as saying, you know what I'm saying, back in 1980s, you know what I'm saying, the payments was $500, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
versus,
But my point
you know what I'm
is,
saying, like it's not the same.
listen to what I'm saying. Let me wrap up my point. My point is that the wages, that note has doubled, sometimes 2.5 turns, but the wages haven't.
That's correct. So what you're saying is, you know what I'm saying, is that people are going to price out each other, you know what I'm saying? But what you're not taking into account is that what I think is, you know what I'm saying, the human race is one of the most adaptive races that's out there. You know what I'm saying? So like yes, it's becoming more and more unaffordable, but they're coming up with ways in order to make it affordable. So you know what I'm saying? I don't think, you know what I'm saying, BlackRock and Vanguard is going to take over everything. And then now, you know what I'm saying, you're asked out, like you're going to be on the 610 living because you can't afford anything. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. I think now, you know what I'm saying, what you're talking about is that the goal is the same. The structure to get there, the logistics of it changes, right? So from now on, you know what I'm saying, I can't afford a car. But because I can't afford a car, I'm going to live closer in the town. And then now I have ride share. Not only do I have ride share, Uber came in where people could actually come in and actually use their own cars to take people to different locations, right? That started off Uber. Uber eventually evolved into the point where, you know what I'm saying, now you can ride share. I can take this ride that I'm on and I can pay cheaper amount of money because I now bring it on more people. It's the exact same thing when it comes to residential real estate. Instead of me renting a whole house by myself, it's going to be the strategy is going to change. We're adapting. Now, instead of me trying to do one house by myself, I am going to do a room in a 4-bedroom house. Now I pay less than what, you know what I'm saying, I would do trying to do a whole house by myself. I think it's going to continuously evolve. Like, you know what I'm saying, I don't have to worry about, oh, well, you know what I'm saying, there's not going to be a place for me to stay because Vanguard is taking over everything. Like, that doesn't make sense.
What are you talking about? Didn't I start my rebuttal with, didn't I start with that? That is going to evolve?
What you said was is that essentially, summarizing what you're saying, wages are not keeping up with the price elevation of property.
What did I
so
say?
Then people are going to be asked out. That's what you just said.
What did I start out with? I started out with prefacing with the same stuff. I'm the one that brought Uber into this. I'm the one that brought the analogy. You just repeating what I just said.
I'm not repeating what you just said, B.
Right,
what you're saying is that people are going to be priced out. That's what you just said.
What I said, we got to reimagine. We got to look in the future, how it's going to be 15 years from now, 10, 15 years from now. I mentioned split pad. I mentioned how people are going to be living. That's what I just said. I don't think you listened to
what you saying was, you know what I'm saying, what you moving the goalpost again. What you were saying is that 10 years ago, did you not say 10 years ago we were looking at $800-900 payments? You know what I'm saying? Which is not the case now. Did you not just say that?
Let's
That's not what you just said, right?
Hold on. Let's listen to it.
Let's listen to it.
And a lot of apartment complexes get thrown up, and don't forget the at least you have a government standard with buying everything got to be equal to still up. If you're a mortgage, that I'll do ABC in order to be able to make this tools and see nobody. There's another layer to renting. Like, most likely they're gonna buy something. Or you go to Section 8. You don't know any to have. Right? So there's a point where looking for is deals. When he also talked to, you know what I'm saying? Never. So the company that comes about the big picture, I get it. But he's talking about overall overarching thing. This is real. This is facts. You can't deny if they continue on the current trajectory, they'll own 62% of the single family market. That's the majority. What I think is the future, and there's a lot of articles supporting this, is that it's going to be a freelance society. They're saying 40 to 50. There's another thing. I might have it as down the line, I think I said it. They're saying 40 to 50% of the jobs in the next 5 years are going to be eliminated, and more people are going to be freelancing, remote working, different things like that. So that's why commercial's not going to bounce. Commercial is definitely more lucrative, but I think commercial is going to be at a plateau for a little while because people are not building the offices that they used to. It's going to be more shared space. I think that's where residential is going as well, shared space. I think it's going to be more of freelancing, people moving around, more people per household. I think that's the future. I think we got to reimagine 10, 15 years from now. I think it's going to be looking at just like shared rides with Uber. I think shared space is going to be the next thing. You know, with where the split pad, where you got 9 rooms in a room for a month or two. You know, and want to live, bounce around. It's like Uber. You don't necessarily have to have a car. You could bounce around and do perfectly well just by having somebody to pick you up. And now you're paying a premium. However, in some situations, Uber, if you don't drive that much, using the ride sharing services might be cheaper than the car now. You know, so I think that's where they're going to get it to, where instead of renting, where the rent prices are exclusively or buying, well, you know, it's going to be more lucrative to share space. So I think that's where it's going. You're just echoing what I just said. I'm the one that, and the reason why I was saying that is that that's where I think they're going to get it. He just said, he wrapped it up by saying, you're going to own nothing and enjoy it. I think that's where society's going. You know, you don't really own the car. You don't really own I think I got a clip coming up where, and I'm starting to remember the theme of this now, where these new car dealerships got, all right, $400 a month. You want this luxury car? $400 a month for 360 months. You know, and you never own it. It's just like you renting it, but they got that income coming in, you know, for the next 30 years. You know, so and the car not even gonna last that long, but now you owe me for 30 years. You stop paying, I'm just gonna sue you, garnish your wages, and I got somebody in debt to me for the next 30 years. So, and this is legal. I think that's where it's going. It's like, we're gonna make it affordable, but you're never gonna own anything.
No, I don't necessarily believe that. What I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying? So there is going to be that. I 100% agree with that. You know what I'm saying? You have people right now with bad credit that's paying 25, 30% on a car that's 10 years old, 15 years old, whatever the case may be. But because they have shitty credit, they're taking whatever they can get. They're paying $1,000 for a 1990 Cherokee. Grand Jeep Cherokee, you know what I'm saying? There's always going to be those people, you know what I'm saying, that just, you know, look, I'm not good with money, you know what I'm saying, but I can afford this payment, so I don't care what you charge me, I'm going to pay that. What I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rent or I don't own the spot or whatever the case may be. It could be me and you, B, you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of us doing renting or whatever the case may be, hey, look, me and you go in together, you know what I'm saying, and go purchase a house.
Right. It's called
I can't afford it by myself, you know what I'm saying? But me and you go to afford a house. We go get a 4-bedroom house. Me and you occupy 2 bedrooms. We can lease out two of the other bedrooms to our buddies.
Right.
You know what I'm
saying? That's why I said space sharing is going to be the future.
But you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying, you're talking about just nobody owning anything. What I'm saying is that people can still own stuff.
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be, and I think that's capped. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole 60 or 70%, there's people that's come out and said the world was supposed to end. Like twice, 2 or 3 times. The world's supposed to end by now. You know what I'm saying? The world's supposed to be done. So people can predict whatever the hell they want to, but there's a difference between prediction, what you feel, and actual reality. And reality is that BlackRock by 2030 owning 60 and 70% of the residential market is completely ridiculous.
Well, there's things called facts, and if you add mathematics, they said if they keep on the current trajectory, that's predicted. That's just like if you run a 40. in 20 yards, I'm here. I can kind of predict that I'm going to run a 4 or 5 by my pace. That's mathematics, not feelings.
No, it's scientific. Scientific is all still a theory, but you have to prove that theory.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? By 2030, again, you know what I'm saying? The scientific theory was the world was supposed to end. What actually happened, B? Me and you still on this world having this podcast, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about with that. You're moving the goalpost so far. We're talking about,
how is that moving the goalpost? It's still the same thing. What he has is, so you're talking about he has a crystal ball. He can see what happened in 2030.
No, he's saying, listen to what he said. If they keep on a current trajectory, this will be the numbers on the page based on this. Like I could chart how quickly that you use this all the time. So you're saying this is a crystal ball when Google tell you you're going to be there in 45 minutes? No, it's based on your
but B, you know what I'm saying? It's you're going to be there in 45 minutes. You mean to tell me you've never gotten there faster?
Yeah. However, but it's giving you a general idea. It's not
right. That's exactly my point, B. It's a general idea that he has. You know what I'm saying? That's not
how can you say it's false?
What you mean? How can I say it's false?
He said based on the current trajectory, they'll own about 62%.
Okay.
Based on your current
based
speed,
on what? Based on the statistics
on
how much real estate they're buying per year? What is that based on?
Based on the numbers.
What numbers, B? That's what I'm asking. What numbers?
Acquiring.
You don't know what numbers because he didn't say in the video what numbers he's basing that off of. All he's basing that off of is a theory. That's a theory. That's exactly what it is.
So when Google tell you that you'll be there in 45 minutes, that's a theory? Or is that an educated guess?
That is a theory because you can get there ahead of time if traffic is not what Google predicts, right? So there's a difference. When you do an investment property, you know what I'm saying, you have a theory of what it's going to cost you in order to do it, right? That number could be over that or it could be under that. So there's a difference between theory and actuality. You know what I'm saying? Is what I'm saying.
So I think you missing the point. I'm
getting the point. I think you're missing my point is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not.
He doesn't have so does he have a crystal ball to say what it's going to be in 2030? For fact. That's all I'm asking. If it's a no, then it's a theory. Is it not?
Okay. You're missing the point. It's not saying that it's going to be 62 exactly. So based on it, it's going to be approximately that. Does that make you feel better if I put approximately in there? That still doesn't negate that this is the current track.
Okay.
So by you saying by it being off by, let's say it's 61, that still doesn't negate the fact that back in 2025, this was the trajectory. Even if it's 55%, even if it's 68%, based on the numbers that we got now, this is where we predicting it's going to be. You see what I'm saying? So you arguing about the actual hard line now. Nobody knows that until it actually happens. Nobody's arguing that.
B.
But you can't say it's capped by saying
it is capped. B. As mortgage loan officers, right? Let's just bring this down to our level, right? You know what I'm saying? As mortgage loan officers, somebody comes to you and say, I make X amount of dollars. I make $80,000 a year, whatever the case may be. You can see from my actual W-2s that I get a 10% increase every single year. Are we able to use a prediction of what income they're going to make in 5 years? Like, it doesn't make sense what you're saying. Because right now, when we're qualifying somebody, we're qualifying somebody off of what you make now, right? We're not looking into the future. So, correct. And the reason being is because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Just because, you know what I'm saying, you're making a shit ton of money now doesn't mean that you're not going to be fired in the next year.
Well, the whole conversation needs to be void then, so we can't talk about anything that happens in the future.
But we can. But what I'm saying is, and what you're missing is that we can talk about what's happening in the future, but it's a theory, B. It's a theory. I can say right now, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to own the Dallas Mavericks in the future. In 10 years, I'm going to own the Dallas Mavericks. What is that, B?
apples
That's
and
a
oranges.
fucking theory. That's not actuality.
Right. But anything in the future is going to be theory. That you're missing the point. The point is based
Well,
on.
I don't gotta get you, because you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that that's his theory. I'm saying, which you're saying that you agree with his theory. I'm saying I don't agree with his theory. That's cap. That's all I'm saying.
What part you don't?
That's
agree
all
with?
I'm saying.
What part you
I
don't
don't
agree
agree with the fact. I don't agree with the fact that BlackRock and Vanguard, which is supposed to be the same company, is going to own over 68% of the actual residential market.
Based on what?
In 2030.
Based on what?
In 2030. It just doesn't make sense.
What's your data? Or is it just feeling?
No, it's just feeling.
Okay. All right. So there you go. Y'all heard it yourself, audience. Let's go to the next
now,
one.
you know what I'm saying? It's a feeling that I can find statistics. Like, I didn't know this video was coming. You know what I'm saying? We just here reacted off videos, right? But I can find statistics to tell you that shit ain't going to happen. I can tell you that right now.
Reels over
Do you know
feels.
how much real estate is in the United States of America? That's crazy.
Reels over feels. All right, let's go to the next one.
I need you guys to genuinely understand how sick these landlords are getting, especially if you live in Los Angeles, California. Just be careful renting in California in today's climate. I'm about to give you a heads up. You need to make 3.5 times the income or more. You need to have a good credit score. You're going to be paying application fees. And even though they lowered the deposits to move into an apartment here in California, guess what? Guess what's new? Before you rent an apartment, the landlords or property management are going to want to see that you have 6 months to a year worth of savings in that bank account. Yeah, it's getting sick out here. I need you guys to genuinely understand.
What you got? She capping too?
No. I'm pretty sure that's 100% rapping. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing is that, and I'm biased to landlords because I'm a landlord. We have to do what we have to in order to create a safety net to make sure that we don't run into the issues that we run into in the past, right? So, especially if you're in a desirable area. If I'm in the museum district where everybody wants to live in Houston, just as an example, my qualifications is going to be a little bit different than if I'm in Conroe, Texas, right? Just as an example, just because of the demand is going to be so high in a major metropolitan area versus in the outskirts way in the boonies. The demand to actually get that unit. So if I have 20 people that apply in order to get to this thing, and I don't have a problem leasing this part out, then I'm going to put every checks and balance in place to make sure that, you know what I'm saying, I'm putting the right tenant in there. And then, you know what I'm saying, we don't have fast turnover. Because once I put a person in there, I'm hoping that they'll stay for a while, and they're going to be there for a while, and they're going to pay their rent on time. So in California, the prices are so high because there's only so much land, especially when you're talking about Los Angeles. You're talking about Los Angeles or whatever the case may be, the actual land that they have, you know what I'm saying, is supply and demand. When the land is not that plentiful, then obviously the prices intend to go up. And depending on the actual location that you are and the location that she's actually tried to apply to, I can definitely see a landlord actually having those extra qualifications just because they can. And especially if it's a newer unit, they just remodeled it, it's new construction, whatever the case may be, I can see them having them extra checks and balances in place. So if we're talking about the rapping and capping or whatever the case may be, that is definitely rapping.
Right. But this kind of goes to the original slide, like qualifications are getting more strenuous, and because don't forget there's a bunch of new landlords out there as well. So everybody wanted picture perfect, people taking less chances. Just depends on where you are. Again, I think it's the beginning of reimagining, living situations. I think a bunch of people gonna start getting together, like other nationalities, and tenants in common, whether it's buying or renting, I think that's new affordable housing is sharing space, this is what it is. I mean, um, everything get more affordable, wages staying stagnant. Then you got a lot of the stuff that people are doing as far as to supplement their income, is not really sustainable, because if you're an influencer, or if you do catering on the side, whatever, whatever you're doing on the side is extra money, but you got to have a history of that. That's the difference between what we're doing as mortgage brokers. It's a snapshot of right now in your history. We're not looking at the future. Based on your history, the algorithm is kind of predicting your future, but they take a snapshot. The last 2 years, two different things, apples and oranges. But yeah, I think people need to start to imagine, especially if I was in the 20s. I kind of did it. I had roommates and stuff like that. I had roommates till my 30s. I mean,
it's not a bad thing, especially when you're young.
Yeah, that's how I was able to stack instead of expending. I saved half of my bread. So I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I'd never do a roommate again. However, it's a good way to stack. So especially with us, man. We gotta, if you got kids or whatever, you got all these other expenses, man. So it's you gotta be. Sometimes you gotta put the pride aside. That's one of the things. We'll go broke to look a certain way. Is it? I think Payroll Giovanni. Shout out to Payroll Giovanni, one of my new favorite MCs. He said, you want to actually be it or look it. So so I rather be than look.
Here's the thing that I try to talk to, just completely aside from this. I'm saying I try to talk to the younger cats about, when you're saying you're 20, 21, 22, whatever the case may be in that age, you have your homeboys, your buddies. Chances are, if they stay in their mama's house, they got their apartment, whatever the case may be, y'all all over there together. Y'all over there, hey, look, let's go over such apartment, let's go over such house, whatever the case may be. Why throw money away? Hey, look, let's partnership, let's partner. If we're going to be at each other's house anyway, we might as well go in and get a crib. That way we don't have to worry about the noise maintenance, management complaining to us, we're too loud because our neighbors are complaining, whatever the case may be. Let's just go in together, get a house. We got to pay $13, $15, $2,000 anyway a piece. So why not just put that together and go get a banging ass house? And then that way, in 4 or 5 years, once you meet your wife, or life just takes you elsewhere, whatever the case may be, you could sell that property, and have you $20, $30, $40, $50,000 to actually get life started. It just, it makes more sense to do it that way versus everybody get their own apartment. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think we talked about this before on the podcast, is that the biggest thing in our community is the pride. We want to look as fly as possible. We don't like to get along with anybody. We want to do our own thing, and then it is hard to have roommates. One of the disadvantages of that is people not paying on time, people moving people in, people not respecting your space, noise. It is a lot of disadvantages to it, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But if you got to be in that predicament in order to make it. But I stacked my bread, and then I basically got my own crib. Well, first of all, it was my own crib. I just had roommates that share the expenses when I first moved to Houston, but I moved from a different state. So sometimes I even got this, in order to flourish, you got to, leave your hometown, So, but let's go ahead and get this next one, because I got a few more, man. It's getting late. So let's
do it.
Home price in my area of Thousand Oaks is $1.1 million for a starter home that's 40 years old and probably ranges around 1,500 to 1,700 square feet. Income to qualify for that right now, 20% down to comfortably afford it, north of $300K a year?
Comfortably, yeah.
Median income in California is 80,000. Okay.
So, sorry. In Los Angeles, it's just under 80. I'm not sure what it is in California. In the whole state.
Okay, so LA is 80. Thousand Oaks is going to be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
My friends that are selling homes, the majority of people purchasing them, who do you think they are?
All cash buyers.
Who's buying?
Institutions.
No.
Who?
parents.
I mean, that's the only way you can do it, right?
Yeah. So I've talked to a friend. The last 5 homes that were purchased were for people our age or younger, and parents bought it for them.
Yeah.
Right. It's just too expensive. So if we're trying to take more of a holistic approach, let's say more of a free market way of solving this problem, how do you solve the housing crisis?
You add supply.
Add supply.
You have a bridge approach, and then you have a long-term approach. The bridge approach is you create incentives in order to drive people to build homes that are affordable, and then you tag on the Section 8 subsidy in order to make it affordable for them in the moment. Long-term solution, you take basically what like ED1 in Los Angeles did in terms of creating incentives and reducing the bureaucracy of getting things done, and you apply that broadly. That brings more people in. Now you're building more, and now you're putting more supply on the market, and now costs are naturally in a free market way going down.
Median home price in my area.
I don't know how I got all these California clips, but I guess,
It's the algorithm. Keep sending you California clips.
Right.
I'll let you comment on that first.
Just setting up the next one, but yeah, I mean, I like the idea, but in our community, we don't have that luxury. I like, most people, I've had a few where the parents purchased the house, for them, or got them started, or got the down payment at least. I've done actually one this year where the parents did the down payment, stuff like that. So if you're able to, that's beautiful. That's great. Get you started. That's a jump start of life. That's what you want to be able to provide for your kid. But however, more time than not, our community doesn't have that jump start. They can't wait to get out the house and then you're on your own. I give you a couple of dollars here, but nah, you starting on your own. You're not starting with that help, that leg up. So you kind of start from scratch. My suggestion would be for us, I don't know about California. I'm gonna talk about the Houston market because California's so out there, as far as affordability. With the Houston market, one of the guys I helped, he's been working at Marco since he was 16. But what he did is establish that work history. Get you a job, and work. I don't know if people know that full time now, 32 hours. It used to be part time. What, 32 hours? Work that 32 hours a week and get that history down. Then by the time you turn 18, you graduate from high school, you can go ahead full time. And then you're ready. Don't forget, it's the history, but if once you get that full time and you get that that promotion, you go from regular worker to the manager or shift lead. Now I could, and you're on that salary, I could use that salary. You have the work history, now I can use that salary. So now it's affordable. The problem here in Houston is going to be the actual inventory. Can you find houses that's going to be in that 100,000, 120,000, which you could afford if you're making like $45,000 a year? That's going to be the issue. And the second layer is that if you can't find it, will it be up to your standards? A lot of times we want to have the Taj Mahal off the rip. And I understand what starter home means. You might have to get that fixer upper. I did one that was a fixer upper a couple of weeks ago that we closed on. So you might have to get that fixer upper, put that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 repairs in there. We add that thing to the loan. So you got to have some imagination on the possibility as well. But, we want turnkey. We want the new crib. We want this. And a lot of the new cribs going to be 200 plus. And if you just start now, you're not going to be able to afford it, unless you do what we were just talking about then. You get a group of partners together, group of your friends together, and y'all like-minded, which is, I know in our community, it's hard to do. You got so many different people on so many different angles. We wanted all those want to go to college, and before we start getting serious, we get that credit card. We didn't ruin our credit. By the time we get it back fixed up, we mid-20s now. And then by the time we pay off that student loan debt, or we get to where we even paying it down, we 30. Wake up, we 30. And that's what happens to a lot of us, So we don't really start like when we supposed to start. So I'll go ahead and open that up to you.
Yeah. 100% agree. You know what I'm saying? I don't know necessarily, you know what I'm saying, if it's the exact same down here where a majority of those parents are taking care of it. But I do see, you know what I'm saying, where it makes sense where, you know what I'm saying, if you're in high school and you're automatically going into the workforce, by the time, you know what I'm saying, you actually get into a salary job, what people don't understand is what a lot of young people don't understand is that, you know what I'm saying, school would actually count, or whatever you do as far as work history, you know what I'm saying, during while the time that you're in school could actually count as work history. Right. So when you come out, you know what I'm saying, you're actually able to be ready to actually purchase and do something, and actually go into purchasing a home. I think there's creative ways in order to be able to afford a home, but just because now, you know what I'm saying, home prices have become so ridiculous. And then the other thing is, you know what I'm saying, just having the proper expectations. Like, even though, you know what I'm saying, you just got this full-time job, you can't come out expecting to get this 4-bedroom, 3,900 square foot house. Like, that just ain't going. That's just not going to happen. I think, you know what I'm saying, if you can tailor your expectations properly, you can set yourself up for the future. Set you and your family self up for the future, to have a great start. And you may not necessarily need the help from your parents. You can do it all by yourself.
I mean, the help would be nice, but what happens is a lot of people don't have that help or not looking at things to set up for the future. You're not game planning on 10 years from now, 20 years from now. A lot of people at that age just, we fall into the program. Oh, just be a kid. You're supposed to mess up. And those mistakes sometimes cost you years of your life of digging out the hole. Don't forget, like, that hole, most people, that hole that you create for yourself, you're going to have to get yourself out. So a lot of people don't realize that. So, yeah, you can mess up. You got more time as luxury on your side, hopefully, but however, why not? You do it right, you do it light, you do it wrong, you do it long. Why not do it right the first time and get it make it easier on yourself?
Correct.
In the long run. So,
and here's was you done with your point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing, you know what I'm saying, that I see with a lot of young people. With a lot of young people, you know what I'm saying, everybody wants to flex for social media.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Oh man, you know what I'm saying, I got this, this 550 Benz, or I got this X6, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I got, and you still living at home with your parents. You know what I'm saying? I think the ultimate flex is to say, hey, look, you know what I'm saying, I'm 21 or 22 years old, you know what I'm saying, I just purchased my first house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, even if you're driving a goddamn Miata, or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anybody can flex over having a car, because, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't take anything to qualify for it. But that's an appreciate. That depreciates. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't appreciate. So, you know what I'm saying, to say that I have a house that 5 or 10 years from now, I'll be able to cash out and make 50, 60, maybe $100,000 or whatever the case may be, that is the ultimate flex. So I think for a lot of this younger generation, you know what I'm saying, priorities have to be intact. And not just necessarily looking at people on social media that's doing it wrong. Just because they have this new car, whatever the case may be, they're not showing their crib. If they do show their crib, you know what I'm saying, they're showing the apartment that they're leasing and this real nice car that they have. What if you showed a real nice house? An appreciation asset, you know what I'm saying, versus a depreciating asset. Then, you know what I'm saying, you have the ultimate flex. So I think, you know what I'm saying, for the younger generation, they need to financially educate themselves to make the right decisions. And looking at social media is not always the right way to get yourself financially educated.
Well, a lot of young people they think house being tied down, so they don't understand, like, you got to look at it as an investment as opposed to just a place to live. So a lot of people don't want the responsibility, of owning the house, because they don't want to be tied down. I ain't figured out where I want to live yet. So they'd rather lease for 3-4 years and throw that money away than actually make the smart decision.
Correct.
So let's go ahead.
The New Jersey housing market is the most discouraging housing market I have ever experienced. And this is coming from someone who had to leave New Jersey because in 3 years, my rent had increased by almost $1,000. This home here, a very modest 1,700 square foot home, is something that most people strive for. You could raise your family here. You could even retire here. A lot of things can happen here. This is the American dream. But then this happens. $610,000 for a 1,700 square foot house that, let's be honest, needs some love. The same house that sold for $610,000 not that long ago sold for $313,000 just 5 years ago with no major upgrades. This home in 2025 with a $610,000 payment and a 6% down payment with a 6.5% rate gives you a payment of $4,100. In 2020 with a $313,000 sale price and 6% down and a 3.5% rate gives you a payment of $1,500. To reasonably afford this home today, you need a household income of $250,000. When to reasonably afford this home back in 2020, all you would have needed was a household income of $85,000. And this is the problem that people like me are having. A single 10-year teacher could have afforded this house just 5 years ago. To make things even worse, for $300,000 today, you get this. A small condo that requires a ton of work. Well, I have no idea what we're going to do. We've got higher home prices than we've ever seen, and we've got higher interest rates than we've seen in a very long time. So let me know what your thoughts are and what you think we should do. Like, follow, and comment for more. The New Jersey housing market is the most...
Well, you want me to go first on this?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I see the theme, like what I was talking about, what's happening. That's what I was talking about earlier as well. And I've seen it as a mortgage loan officer is that, that same house, 5 years ago, I used to get teachers in all the time. They're priced out now, and it's the same house, same neighborhood. If you do get something that's in it's the fixer uppers. And a lot of people don't have the vision to go ahead, and people don't realize how easy to do them 2 or 3 Ks and the renovation loans are. But you might have to get something in a less desirable neighborhood and fix it up, and that's be your starter home. That's just what it is, So, or you're gonna have to team up with somebody. The way y'all have the household income of the $250,000. I don't think it's gonna be that much in here in Houston, but you're probably looking at least half of that. You're probably looking at 125 if you want that $300-something house. And that's that 350 is equivalent to that 600,000 out there in New Jersey. So that's what that is. And I see it all the time. So that teacher is priced out, especially with student loans and stuff like that. She had 60, 70 back in.
Yeah.
So this is what it is. And it's the same house, the exact same house. I'll go ahead and let you run it.
Yep. So, I'm saying? I think for, somebody that's motivated to actually be able to own their own home, there's options out there available, even for a teacher, right? 2020 was when COVID happened, and then prices went increased astronomically, and we get that, you can't afford the same type of house that you could in 2019 that you can in 2025, 100% get that. But what's more important is the number one question, that kind of irks me when it comes to people trying to purchase a home. Is the number one most important thing for you, is the people's feel and opinions and feedback when they actually pull up to that house and give you comments, if it's 1,500 square foot versus 3,000 square foot, is that the number one thing? Is that your priority when it comes to actually purchasing a house? Or is your number one priority actually getting into something financially sound that you can actually get a return from 5 years from now? I think about the people that, that actually were pre-approved pre-COVID, but because they were so nitpicky and they were so, oh man, this house doesn't have the floors that I like. I don't like the color floors and all this other stuff. They missed the complete boat of being able to purchase an affordable house. Now everything since COVID has gone up astronomically. Now they've priced themselves out of the market. Now you was able to, you know what I'm saying, be able to be qualified for 400,000. Now you're barely able to be qualified for $250,000 just because you wanted to nitpick. But imagine, you know what I'm saying, if you were able to actually get into a house that, you know what I'm saying, needed some work or whatever the case may be, needed some small cosmetic stuff that you could have easily done over the time that you were actually in the property, but you're in the property. You were in the property pre-COVID. Now COVID happens and the appreciation of the house takes off. Now you're getting $10,000, $15,000 per year just because of COVID, because it's increasing the actual price of the home. Now you rather miss out on that because you're worried about what people actually think about you, what people are going to say about your house. So long story short, I say that when it comes to the teachers, you know what I'm saying, like you can still afford something. You can still get into something. It's not to say that you're completely priced out, but your expectations have to be properly assessed. You know what I'm saying? You can't expect the bells and whistles knowing that you can't afford the bells and whistles. The biggest thing is to be able to get into an appreciating asset. That should be the number one objective, not necessarily what, you know, your cousins and, you know, people say, you know what I'm saying, once they come over to your home. Because it doesn't matter what they say when you come over to your home. When you sell that home 5 years from now and you're able to put $50,000 in your pocket, what they gonna say then? So
well, don't forget that
I know firsthand
what feels good as opposed to the right thing. It's not all that easy. Like I said, if it was, the world would be a better place. But most people are gonna do what feels good to them. You know, it's all about
which is the problem, though. Which is the problem?
Right.
Because here's the thing: you miss out on thousands and thousands of dollars just because you worried about it. Like if you equate the appreciation that people miss during COVID just because they're worried about what people are going to say about their house. Do you know how much money they actually left on the table? How much money they actually lost? The property that they actually lost? Like, you know what I'm saying? But is somebody worth that valuable to where you can lose thousands and thousands of dollars just because you're worried about what they're going to say?
I mean, we could open a whole nother can of worms. People putting all this other people's hair in their head for hundreds of dollars a week, and they refuse to leave the house without it. You know what I mean? So, that
It's
you
crazy.
know, because you worry about what somebody else said. So I'm scared to come outside with the stuff that grow out the top of my head. I got to cover it up because I'm scared of what people gonna say. You know, so
I mean, it's a topic that we could take, you know what I'm saying? Here, look, we could do a whole damn podcast on this because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, when people justify that their car went broke, their car broke down or whatever the case may be, they got to go out there and get a new car. Does it have to be a Lexus? Does it have to be a Benz if you can't afford it? Like, why not just get an affordable car? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with a Honda Civic? You know what I'm saying? If you can get a Honda Civic with $200 payments, why would you go out there and get a used car or this car that's barely making it and pay $800-900 because you're worried about what people see as the emblem on the actual car? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this topic runs deep, but I just think, you know what I'm saying, you know, financial literacy is one of the things that, you know what I'm saying, we struggle with in America, period.
I got a couple more, so let's go into this next one here.
Because the strange thing is when people asked buyers, they did a poll and they said, well, why aren't you buying? And they said, well, I'm waiting for rates to come down. And the next question was, to what? And the average person said to 3.
So the reality is, if you show them this slide, they're not going up, they're going back to normal.
Well, when are they going to be 3 again,
That 10-year period is crazy.
Yeah.
You're not going to see 3 in your lifetime. You're not going to see 3 in your lifetime. My guess is you will never see 4 in your lifetime.
Really? And that's okay.
You won't. I mean, you won't. You know, you may not see below 5 in your lifetime. You might. But I promise you, there's a lot of people that walk around and they go, oh, this is an aberration. Normal is the last 10 years. Look at the dadgum graph for a second. Does the last 10 years look normal to you? There's nothing normal about it. It was God's gift to you. Here, you've worked so hard in the wilderness for the last 30 years. I'm going to give you 10 good years. Don't squander them.
Because the strange thing is when
I mean, that's deep. That's a different way to look at it as well. That we don't know that the last 10 years are an anomaly. It's not the norm, and we wanted we done got spoiled. I think I've told clients this before, like we spoiled on these low rates, and this was the people that wanted it kills me. It's crazy. And I get this all the time. Used to get this all the time in retail as well. Is that everything's lined up for you. I got to think about it some more. Well, if it's not there, it ain't meant to be. It is meant to be. That's why you're here. That's why the opportunity is here right now. So you want to double down. You want even more chance. You got to seize the opportunity when the opportunity is there. You just want to not do any work for it. You don't want to stretch yourself at all. Don't forget that seeking you should find, asking you should receive, seeking you should find, knock, and the door should be open unto you. You got to knock. They don't say somebody's going to pick you up and carry you through the door. You say you still got to get up, knock, and then the door going to be open. Then you still got to walk through. There's still some things that you got to do. So my point of what I'm saying is that we done got spoiled on these rates. The people that I've at one point, I think in 2021, I had 80-something people that was pre-approved that never actually got the homes. I don't know if they was waiting. I don't know if they went somewhere else and shop, but I had over 80 pre-approved that I never closed a loan on, in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they changed their mind or whatever. I know one that I just was at. I seen that open house like the one CJ had last year. She still ain't found a house. So you had your opportunity. You was pre-qual. Everything was lined up. You chose the nitpick, like you said earlier. Now you priced out.
Yep.
And now you're gonna say, I'm gonna keep on waiting.
Yep.
How long you gonna wait? Yeah, and the wait, you might never, most likely, unless something happens, you're never gonna see threes again.
But then here's the thing, I'm saying, is that she's what was that, 2020 B?
2020,
2021?
Yeah.
2020, 2021, I'm saying? Imagine how much money she's lost. It's 2025. Imagine how much money she lost. If she would have jumped into the pool then, I'm saying, and bought a house, imagine how much money she would have had, how much equity she would have in her property, I'm saying, 2025 now. Right. She'll be able to get she'll be able to get a HELOC or a home equity loan right now, I'm saying, and be able to pull out $40,000, $50,000, do whatever she wants to with the property, or do whatever she wants to with an investment, go on vacation, whatever she wants to do. But now, I'm saying, she has nothing to show for it because she's probably renting somewhere. She's pissing away money. It's unnecessary.
Well, haste makes waste. I mean, that's one of the problems with our community is that they want everything. Not only it'll be lined up for you, but you're still hesitant. Everything is lined up for you. It is meant to be. That's why you got pre-approved.
Financial logic goes out the window when a non-educated person closer to you has an opinion, right? You know what I'm saying? Because even though, I'm saying, we live this stuff every day in, day out, I'm saying, we understand the market, we understand what's going on, and we're giving them advice to help them for their financial future. All that shit goes out the window. All that shit falls on deaf ears if a person closer to them gives them advice that they're going to actually heed to. If you have a father, I'm saying, that has nothing to do with real estate, he's a welder or whatever the case may be. If he tells you now is the right time to buy, I'm saying, you need to wait till prices go down. That's exactly what you're going to do. Because you truly believe that person that's closer to you, educated or financially educated, I'm saying, that person believes and have your best interest at heart. So you're listening to that. And they're actually digging a grave for you. Or, I'm saying, not necessarily digging a grave, but I'm saying they're putting you in a financial bind. We talk to people all the time, and we tell, I'm saying, look, well, Warren Buffett said, I'm saying, be greedy when other people are afraid, be afraid when other people are greedy, right? When interest rates are high, it's the best time to buy, because at that time, I'm saying, you're going to get the best fucking deal. There's not a lot of you out there. You can go to that goddamn seller, I'm saying, hey man, I'm saying, I'll buy your house. I want a $10,000 discount, and I want $10,000 towards my closing costs, and they're going to pay it. because there's not that many buyers out there. There's not that many people in the pool. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's waiting on rates to go lower. So now you can get into the house with little to nothing, you know what I'm saying, because you're able to get this sweet ass deal. But when everybody jumps in the pool, rates go down a little bit or whatever case may be, and then now the market is crazy. Now you're not able to get that amount of deal. Now you're caught in a bid situation where you're bidding up. You have to pay $10,000 or $15,000 over list just because, you know what I'm saying, there's a bidding war. But everybody's, you know what I'm saying, gun-ho about rates being low. If me and you tell them that, you know what I'm saying, oh man, y'all just salesmen. Y'all just salesmen. Y'all just want a commission check. Y'all not in it for my best interest. My dad said, you know what I'm saying, I should wait. My mom said I should wait. My auntie said, my cousin said I should wait until rates go lower. Well, do you know how long that's going to be? Do you know how much appreciation that you're actually passing up, waiting on them, waiting on rates to go down to 3%, which it probably would never go back to 3%. You're just missing out on a shit ton of money. Then you get to the point where 10 years down the line where you're just like, man, look, I waited long enough. Fuck it. I'm just going to jump in the pool. But how much money have you lost within those 10 years? It's unnecessary, you know what I'm saying? But we run into this situation every single day, B. Well, we're trying to educate people, but it falls on deaf ears because people closer to them, non-educated people closer to them, are giving them a different type of advice.
Either you is or you ain't, man. I'm tired of preaching to my face is blue. You know, you can't. It is lined up for you. You know, it's meant to be if you make it. You know, you're not gonna get teleported. Nothing's gonna fall in straight in your lap. And man, I found the other thread of this. I do have a whole bunch. I'm gonna have to cut this short. I think what happened is I found a whole other thread of the ones. I think this was for the week before last.
Yeah,
I think this one for last week or something like that. So I found as I scroll down, I see the rest. I got a whole nother show. We're gonna do something another day. But shit, let me run this. I think one or two more, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But I found the other thread here as I scroll down.
New York and New Jersey, which we're all from, dog, a second job now is a necessity. Like back in the day, you'll get a second job because you wanted a new car, or you'll get a second job to pay off this vacation or do. Now you need two jobs to maintain a standard of living. So now you're talking about bringing another human being into the world that's going to rely on you for every single thing.
That's more expensive for their formula, their clothes.
Now you can't take even the jobs that pay minimum wage. It's no kids in there. Think about what I'm saying. When we were young, the bad chicks worked at the mall. I'm going to the mall. They in there. Now those are grown-ups.
Grocery store.
Wawa.
70
grown-ups. Dunkin' Donuts. Grown-ups. Fam, they are outsourcing the jobs at a different type of rate. So now the 40-year-olds are working at Wawa.
But they have to.
They have to. Bro, I live in Wawa, right? So I could go on Wawa at 2 a.m. to get a coffee. Like they said in New York and New Jersey, which we are all from, dog, a second.
Which I think, I mean, I'll go ahead and spearhead this one as well. I said this a while back, a couple of years ago, that multiple streams of income is going to be the new norm. It's gone. Our grandfather, the way he worked at the plant, and he raised, 3 kids and everything on that plant money, that one job, that's gone. He worked such and such. He worked at the wherever for 30 years. Those days are gone. You got to have 2 or 3 jobs and a couple of side hustles too. It just is what it is. It's the sign of the times. And they got, as they get more and more ways to make money, you need them.
Yeah, correct. Here's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Was you finished with your point, B?
Just to add the layers, so and you got to take that approach with buying a home too. You got to teach the salary that ain't enough. If you're gonna be solo dolo, you want to maintain a standard of living, you can't get along with nobody, you're gonna have to have 2-3 things going.
I think now, you know what I'm saying, it's becoming more prevalent to have two or three streams of income. But, as times evolve, you know what I'm saying, so does the opportunity to make money as well too. So it's kind of the pros and the cons of the situation, right? You know what I'm saying? Because back then it wasn't as easy to make money from home, just doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? They got right now, you know what I'm saying? They got so many online stuff, you know what I'm saying? They got Amazon businesses, they got all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? If you just choose to, there's multiple streams of income that you can do elsewise. They got digital stuff, you know what I'm saying, that you can actually sell. There's other ways to make income, but for the lazy person, they're going to always struggle. They're going to always struggle. There's not a lack of opportunity out there. You know what I'm saying? There's just a lack of effort to put in, you know what I'm saying, what's needed in order to take advantage of these opportunities. So now, you know what I'm saying, you're finding that, you know what I'm saying, a lot of these jobs are not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need extra. So for teachers, you know what I'm saying, for example, like it's not enough to teach. Like I got to coach a sport. Like I need that stipend. You know what I'm saying? I gotta teach summer school in order to be able to make more money. But you know what I'm saying? If you're one of those people that continuously make excuses about why you can't do more, I think you're always going to struggle. But you know what I'm saying? Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad say, you know what I'm saying? How? The question is, how can I get this done? Not if I can get this done. If it's possible to get this done or whatever the case may be, is how can I get this done? What do I need to do? And everybody's situation and everybody's answer is a little bit different, but you have to ask yourself, how do I get this done? What do I need to do? What is my passion? How can I monetize my passion? What can I do? You know what I'm saying? And I think you'll find yourself, you know what I'm saying, not in these situations, but challenging yourself to do better, to be better.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, man. I mean, I think what happens is this new generation, I know they're a little bit different than us, as far as work ethic. However, they are creative in what they do. I give them that. They are creative, but I think it's a necessity nowadays for you to. It's a combination. You're gonna have to either live a meager life, or B, step your game up. You can't just abstain from both. You have to do one or the other. So if you want to live that Instagram lifestyle, you're gonna have to have a mean drive. Just get it in your mind. Let's hit this next one. And I think this is going to the next week because I think the theme's about to switch. Let's see. I forgot which week started, where it began, where it ended, where it began. Let's see. I think this is gonna switch themes.
This here just showed just how much as Americans we lack financial literacy. So this queen right here went and purchased one of the $350 bags from the Chinese manufacturers, which will cost her $2,000 in America. And then she did a side-by-side comparison and breakdown of both bags and realized that everything is absolutely the same, down to the logo designs, the stitching, the accessories to the bag, absolutely everything. And see, if we had financial literacy, we would not be maxing out our credit cards to go ahead and buy luxury items, especially when we're paying 2,000% more than what it cost them to make these bags. And now China is even being more relaxed when it comes to stealing American company IPs, and they're basically letting manufacturers go ahead and make duplicate products of the IPs that they have from European and American companies to go ahead and sell directly to American consumers. Like, our need to be consumers is basically disgusting. Like, look at this lady right here basically crying and breaking down in tears because she finally was approved to buy a $38,000 Hermes bag that literally only costs $1,400 to be created.
If you don't come now, we'll never show you what.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, come down.
Okay, yes. You don't know what is it.
And if this didn't open your eyes to stop being the consumer, then I don't know what will. Now is the time to stop using your credit for luxury lifestyles and luxury items that you're being overpriced for, and start working on your credit so that you can start getting investments, start getting the funding you need to start cash flowing businesses. 5 items deleted for this client. They have 74 points now in the 800 club, and now they can go ahead and get approved for the funding they need to go ahead and start investing and start creating businesses and stop wasting their credit on liabilities and fake luxury items. Comment credit if you're ready to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's switching things on the next week. Let me check this next one. I'll let you go in on that while I check this next one. Hold on a second.
Here's the thing, you know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily want it to feel like, you know what I'm saying, we beating down people for getting luxury items. You know what I'm saying? I just want to clarify that. If you can afford luxury items, there's not a problem with that. I did see the video, you know what I'm saying, where the lady broke down, she got approved for a Birkin or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't 100% privy to what her financial situation is. Everybody in life has these milestones and they have these things where, hey, look, you know what I'm saying? I worked so hard. I've made so much money. I need to have I guess, you know what I'm saying, kind of a milestone or a checkpoint where, you know what I'm saying, I, kind of reward myself for working so hard. So, you know what I'm saying, for some people, you know what I'm saying, working so hard, you know what I'm saying, making this money, affording this money, I can get an Hermes bag because, you know what I'm saying, that kind of helps me, you know what I'm saying, with my ego. That kind of helps me keep the engine still going. Or you know what I'm saying, I got to have that car that has a Lexus emblem on the front or a Benz emblem on the front. Don't get us wrong, you know what I'm saying, if you work hard and you can actually afford it, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But what we're talking about is, you know what I'm saying, is that when you can barely afford it and you know you can barely afford it, or can't afford it, you know what I'm saying, and then you go purchase these luxury items. So no problem with the lady, you know what I'm saying, with the Hermes bag. I get it. She's excited, you know what I'm saying, she's approved. It probably was on her vision board that she would eventually, you know what I'm saying, work herself up to get a Hermes bag. She could be a lawyer, you know what I'm saying, making tons of money. She got to the point where, you know what I'm saying, she got so many clients and she's able to go get a Hermes bag. I have no idea. And you have people, you're always going to have people with opinions. Hey, look, if you can't afford to pay cash for a Hermes bag, you can't afford it. I'm not necessarily going to say that. All I'm saying is that I'm holding judgment on that lady, just thinking that, you know what I'm saying, she can possibly afford that. I have no comments against that. But as he said, you know what I'm saying, the number one thing is to be able to take care of your credit so you can do something like that, or you can go get that luxury item or that luxury car to help check that off your bucket list. But you're not trying to put yourself in a financial ruin or financial strain to where you can't afford it. That's where it becomes a problem. That's where it becomes a stupid financial decision to do that. So, you know what I'm saying, nobody knows the situation better than you, but just be fiscally responsible. That's all I'm saying.
Stop it, man. Stop it. I think that's part of the problem right there. It's the social acceptance of it. I think if we got together like other groups and shamed the stupidity, people might do better. But then again, with this new crowd, they might not do better. They like to be stupid. It's all around dumb. Period. But you could do what you want. It's a quote unquote free country, so you could be stupid. There's nothing illegal about being stupid. They cost $1,400 to manufacture, right? And you're gonna pay 38 grand for it just because of a name. And China even you could go on the social media right now and show that it's from the same factory. All they do is change the labels on it and put their labels on it, but they manufacture the same goods in the same factories in China. It's not manufactured in Italy or wherever you think it is. There's not even any crocodiles in Italy. So where are they getting outsourcing the goods from? It's coming from everywhere else. So we got to snap out of that labels thing. We got to get it because it's a Birkin. Who is Birkin and what has he done for our community? Nothing. So it's the fact that we idolizing these things and we use this as status symbols whether you could afford it or not. It's the idea of making it a thing that's desired. Why is that desired? You know, and then you got other nationalities that really don't give a damn about none of that stuff. That's why they're able to come up. You know, this is what it is. We idolize stupidity. You know, it gotta be this, it gotta be this label, it gotta be that. Who cares? It's only valuable in your mind. But I wouldn't care a damn if it's a Birkin or Irkin or Jerkin. I don't care. You know, nobody cares about that. I mean, except in your mind, and you know, people that's like-minded like you. I wouldn't care if you know the fact that you paid $38,000. That doesn't impress me. You know, because value is all perceived value. You know, and they able to capitalize. I don't knock them. I don't knock at the people that sell it. If you're able to capitalize on people's stupidity, because it's obviously not worth that. You're paying $2,000, 2,000% markup, and you know it. You know, so you know if you are buying it, go for it. I'm not buying it. I don't care about it. I'm past that stage where you know I need labels. I need this. I need that. For whom? Who am I attracting? Who am I impressing? Who's impressed by that stuff? And then the attention that I get is it wanted attention. So you really got to reevaluate your value system and reevaluate the social pressures and the social norms. Free yourself from it. Free yourself. The truth is it's not worth the damn.
Well, you know what I'm saying? You know, look, I don't know this 100% for fact, you know what I'm saying? But you know, just from my wife watches Housewives, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, just from a couple of episodes that I peeked on, you know, from my understanding, you know what I'm saying, there are some bags that appreciate in value. So, you know what I'm saying, if there's some bags that appreciate value, I mean, I don't know how that works. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't never, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not looking into Hermes bags or whatever the case may be. But if it is appreciating in value or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? It may not be a dumb decision. But you know what I'm saying, you know, only she knows, or you know what I'm saying, you know, they know what the difference is. But if it appreciates in value, maybe it ain't a bad decision. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it ain't a stupid decision.
The thing is tanked now. All the value have tanked in Birkin. You can look this up since the China exposed that the IP fraud that's going on. Like they know that this coming from the manufacturing and the stitching and everything exactly the same. The same, and Sony did this as well. Like the same. I don't know if you know, Sony owns the entertainment. Also, they own everything that they gave you to make the blank media. So they know that you were gonna bootleg the films. They're making money on both sides. Wake up. So I own the rights to the actual film with Sony Entertainment, and I own the DVD recorder. I own the Sony DVD blank media. I'm giving you the utensils to bootleg our stuff. I'm getting paid on both sides. That's the game. All right. I got the ignorance that'll pay the 2,000%, and I got the people that the cheap people that's gonna pay the bang bang. Either way, it's coming from the same factory. It's all perceived value. There's malls in Atlanta. There's malls in India. My partner of mine went there to India. All of it's quote unquote bootleg. Look exactly Nike, Supreme, all that other stuff that we be paying high dollar for. They paying $50 for over there. Because they only cost $7 to make. They still making profit. We're gonna pay $300 for these LeBrons. It's stupidity. Huh?
Paying for the name.
You paying for a perceived value, and it's a feeling. The same way you said about the new house. It's the same thing with these goods. It's a name. It doesn't cost much to make. It still costs them $7. People in China and everywhere else are paying $50 for this. There's malls in Atlanta. But since you didn't get it from Foot Locker, you perceive it as not the same thing. It is the same thing. Comes from the same factory. It's something up here that's wrong. And we got to stop it. It's you that's making your money. It's like with we saying the same thing about the rental property. Something ain't right here. So yeah, there's something wrong with that. I disagree with you. Yeah, there's something wrong with spending that much money on that you know is not worth that much. All right, so do the same thing with the dinner. Pay, they got people that spend $1,000 for dinner, but again, at least they know the steak is not worth $1,000. However, it's the networking that they're paying for. I can at least dig it with that.
It's right.
But pay $1,000 for every dinner. How sustainable is that?
Depending on how much money you're making.
Right, but is that not a luxury, or would you do that just because you do it? If I could, would you pay $1,000, or would you still chow down on one of them Denny's $12 steaks?
It depends, and that goes to depends on how much money you're making. You know what I'm saying? It depends on how much money you're making and what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a line of business, so I know some cats, you know what I'm saying, that's in sales, right? You know what I'm saying? And they sell high ticket items. You know what I'm saying? They sell oil and gas stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if your job is to actually, you know what I'm saying, go out and make relationships and put a good impression on somebody that's going to spend thousands of dollars with you.
I get that.
Who's to say it's bad? You know what I'm saying? To spend $1,000 every night.
I get that when it's when you're doing it for something else. However, would you pay $1,000 every time you go out to eat?
If it's just me and my family, no. Shit, no.
Exactly. So why every pair of shoes you have has to have LeBron on there, or have to have a Jordan symbol on there?
Yeah, that's the perceived value, like you say.
Perceived value.
You know what I'm saying? I want people to be like, oh man, where you get them Jordans from?
Exactly.
Or you know what I'm saying? When you get them J's, you know what I'm saying? Man, them J's clean, you know what I'm saying?
With that same note, can you blame the people for wanting the Taj Mahal off the rip? Because this is more than just something you wear. This is where you live. So it's the same sickness.
It is the same sickness. It is the same sickness. You know what I'm saying? Look,
this is a nice neighborhood. They want that same ooh and ah.
We want to do stuff based upon, you know what I'm saying, outside influence and perception.
Right. So how can you blame them for doing the stupidity when they do the stupidity with everything else?
Yeah,
we preach to the choir. Now this don't make sense. It's not financially responsible. It's not financially responsible by this Birkin bag either.
It depends.
It ain't depends. It only costs this much to manufacture. Just like the landlord, you paying the landlord's mortgage. It's
That's correct. Not quite. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're making $2 million a year, you can't hold them to the same standard of somebody that's making $80,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? If you purchase an Hermes bag and you're making $80,000 a year, that's a stupid ass purchase. If you're making $2 million a year, or it's like some of these CEOs is making $20 and $30 million a year, it's not that dumb of a decision.
You're talking about the majority. Most people are not CEOs and making $2 million a year. Come on.
Right. But I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I'm just being clear. I'm just being clear. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not just saying across the board it's just a dumb decision.
Right.
I'm just saying it's based upon your circumstance.
We're talking about in general, the general population. Most people are not CEOs making $2 million a year. We're talking about in general. You stretching and you reaching for a perceived look, and if the look is only for the compliments and the oohs and the ahs, that's what we're talking about. It's the same sickness across the board that you stretching, knowing you can't afford it, knowing it's not intelligent, knowing it's not the best thing for your pocketbook, but you do it anyway. So you can't blame them. You can't blame them. They gonna want the Taj Mahal, and they gonna want the $400,000 house, knowing you only can afford $100,000.
Of course.
You can't afford it.
Of course. That's why they make a financial. That's why they make a financial mistake, because
Right.
you know what I'm saying, they rather. So it's just like, you know what I'm saying, if I can't get the Taj Mahal, I rather rent.
Right.
And where does that make sense?
Here we go. Now I remember why I put that at the end. Same thing. Same sickness. You can't blame them. It's a glitch. It's a malfunction in the brain.
I don't think
You
it's a
know?
malfunction in the brain. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a difference of education, is what it is.
Nah, you got. I mean, yeah. Our community especially make.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if you raised up, you know what I'm saying, in an environment where, you know what I'm saying, everybody rented, and you raised up an environment where everybody idolize, you know what I'm saying, you know, the name brand that you have versus, you know what I'm saying, what you actually have, you know what I'm saying, and your actual stability, then, you know what I'm saying, that's what you fall privy to.
How
you know
many?
what I'm saying, when you fall into an environment where, you know what I'm saying, everybody around you sell dope, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna sell dope.
I mean, but we preach it to the wrong crowd. I mean, it's good to put the message out. Maybe you reach one person out there, but most people gonna keep doing what they're doing, keep the party going. How many people say that's why I heard from my barber, that's why he get high? It's because, like you said, he'll, you know, all right, I got this money, all right, I can go out, get me a fit, I'll pay these bills. I'm gonna go out and give me a fit and then smoke, and then, man, forget these bills. The bills, you know, it's
The
all
bills
about
don't go.
the
The
bills are
bills
going
will go
to.
away.
That's my thinking, but it's too logical.
That high gonna go. You know what I'm saying? That high only lasts so long. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to re-up, spend more money to
Well,
re-up. You
that's
might
the
well
thing
just
about
pay the
these
bill.
bills. They don't understand. These bills come every 30 days. They're just like the Grim Reaper. All he's doing is taking 30 steps back. And every day he's taking a step forward. That Grim Reaper right there. He ain't going nowhere. He's right there at the door.
Right there.
Yeah,
Hey, he
every 30
want
days
his.
he's gonna come knocking.
He want his.
Yeah.
That's for shit show.
Yeah, so but we don't look at it like that. We'll deal with that tomorrow. You know, but it ain't going nowhere. That Grim Reaper still just 30 step back. You know what I'm saying? You know?
But that's the mindset of people, though. You know what I'm saying? That's just where their mindset is. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I'd rather have it now. Look, it's the ostrich syndrome. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather stick my head in the sand and not deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to hear about it. You know what I'm saying? I just let it be what it's gonna be.
Right.
But then, you know what I'm saying, when it comes time for them to try to make a financial decision, then, you know what I'm saying, they done already fucked up their situation.
Right. You know, and that's why most, especially Texas have the worst credit in the union. You know, buying stuff they can't afford, and they got to be name brand, and all for what? All for what? What's the advantage? A couple of moments of good feelings because somebody complimented you.
Likes and idolization. You know what I'm
Like,
saying? You want people to idolize you. Oh man, you got them Jordans. You know what I'm saying? I tried to get them. I couldn't get them Jordans. You know what I'm saying? You want to hear that type of shit.
Right. And then it's false love. You try to buy love. You try to buy that dopamine hit. You know? So you bought that $38,000. Who's gonna love you? You're gonna get more envy than love. Ain't gonna be mad.
Trying to buy that or trying to buy love or trying to buy, you know what I'm saying, some a piece of ass. You know what I'm saying? Because you figure, you know what I'm saying, you know, if I have XYZ, it's gonna give me a better chance.
Right. Well, that's our problem. That's why we get the Hellcats and we get the you know, it's not the fact that we car enthusiasts, it's that, you know, the cars bring the women.
Yep.
You know, that's why we do it.
Yep.
So I felt trapped. All of us fell trapped to that, man. Like, until you free yourself, you know,
when you know better, you do better. That's all it is.
You know, stuck in that glue trap. Not necessarily, but a lot of people know better. It just feels, just doing better don't feel good. I know better to eat that Five Guys, but I'm gonna eat that Five Guys because it tastes good.
It tastes good and it feel good. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But you know what I'm saying? People gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
Do it. McDonald's say on the drive-through window, hey, this food is known to cause cancer, and they still have a line going to the street.
People don't want to hear that, man. You know what I'm saying? People justify bad decisions all the time. Exactly. And they're gonna continue to buy it. They're gonna continue to buy it. They're gonna continue to justify it.
because it feels good, man. I mean, it just is what it is. Feelings over facts. That's what I'm telling you, and you're not gonna change people. People are always gonna do what feels good right now, and they'll deal with the repercussions, or they'll cry about it. They'll cry that they're a victim when the repercussions hit.
Yep.
You got to look back at you. You made the decision. You made the bad decisions.
They made decisions.
Yeah,
but I'm saying nobody wants to take accountability for that. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's always the world's fault.
It's because I'm black. It's because I'm this. Because I'm that. I'm female. I'm this. I'm that. You blame everything else, but you the one that made the decisions. You the one that chose to get them Jordans when you could have got the Air Lucky Boys, and they last just as long. You know,
not Air Lucky Boys.
Yeah, you could have got the Walmart shoes for $10. You know what I'm saying? But you got to get the name brand. You got to stand in line and get the Jordans. You know, it's been at what is it? How much is Jordan nowadays? I don't even know. I never purchased a pair of Jordans since the early 90s.
It depends on what kind of Jordans you're trying to get. Because, you know what I'm saying, you go to StockX, you know what I'm saying, StockX will run them things 1,000, 5,000, 3,000, you know what I'm saying, depending on what they is.
Right, I'm talking about
they can go, but, you know what I'm saying, you go to the store, you know what I'm saying, I don't know, $200 or $300.
So $300 to get some pair of shoes that's going to wear out. You know,
but here's the thing: people go get the $200 and $300 pair of J's and won't wear them.
Right, just put them in the box.
I you know what I'm saying, I don't want to put the crease in them. You know what I'm saying, I don't want the crease in them to go in them when I'm walking.
Right,
I want them to be fresh and clean.
Right, I never understood Jordan because you thousands of other people, if not millions of other people, got the same shoes. I always wanted to be different. I don't want to have the same shoes that everybody else have on. That's how I looked at it.
The perceived value of it.
Yeah, that's how I got into Gators and stuff more. And now you ain't gonna see more than Phoenix every day. You know, so you didn't. First of all, you got. I just thought different, but even that, now that I analyze, it's stupid. Why I spent $2,000 for a pair of shoes? All they red bottoms, and that's supposed to. Again, you want to look at. You want somebody to respect you instead of actually having money. You want the respect of people seeing you have an article of clothing like you got money. And that's been our problem since Jim Crow era.
Because instead of having money, we want to perceive like we got money.
Like we look like we have money and be broke as a joke.
Yeah.
You got the bed, but you got $3 gas with that bed. When you going across the street?
We still living with mama, you know what I'm saying? But you know, we want to perceive, you know what I'm saying, that we stunting out here.
Right. Shit, I've seen many BMWs and Navigators in the project in New Orleans. You know?
Hey, look, that's projects everywhere.
Right. So you in the hood, you Section 8, but you got the new Beamer though.
Yep.
You know? Once you go and get that, like you said, go and get that Honda, save that money instead of having that $1,000 plus car note, save that extra $800 a month and do something else with it.
What they say, that's too much like right.
Yeah,
too much like right.
Nah, but
they ain't gonna do that.
And now you see why there's the passport rules and everything else. That's a whole nother subject. I'm laying into this, but why would I attach myself to somebody that got that sickness, that want this Birkin bag, that want this, when I could go get a Guatemalan and I take her to Ross and she tickle pink.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. She just had it's clothes, it's new. I got tags on it. That's the best thing in the world. I can spend $100.
But society tells you, you know what I'm saying, that's you look down, that's frowned upon.
Yeah, but I got this other. I take it to Ross. Ross, I look like I shop at Ross, but
correct.
Clothes do.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? I got to go to Hermes.
Yep.
Nah, so I'm good.
That ain't even talking about going out to eat. You know what I'm saying? You got some of them like, man, look, Cheesecake Factory. You know what I'm saying? No, I ain't no Cheesecake Factory type of girl. You know what I'm saying? You got to take me to goddamn Morton's or something.
Why I do that when I could go ahead, somebody gonna cook me that rice casserole, that enchiladas, and cook. You know what I'm saying? Throw it on. Just happen to have food in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
You know, so it's culture. It's not necessarily. It's the culture that's different. I don't like the culture. I think our culture is they got to where it's out of hand now.
Yeah.
You know, so and I think we needed a shift in the culture, man. With that being said, man, there's one. So, I got a whole list of other ones. I'm gonna say this for next week, man. I think it's switching themes a little bit. I think it's going more into the what we talk about live, but it kind of tied together. The sickness is the same.
Okay.
So it's all sickness.
Yeah.
You know? So
financial sickness.
Well, and it's a self-imposed sickness. We want to be sick. You know, and that's like telling them little kids. I mean, them kids don't. It's arrested development. Even though they're 18, 20, 21, they still kids in the mind.
Absolutely. They have to be guided, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, as for us as adults, you know what I'm saying, if we know better, we gotta be able to pass that along to the younger generation.
Right.
So that they have a better start. You know what I'm saying? A better start, better finish.
I don't know if they listen now, especially not. I'm seeing that it's more apt for other nationalities just to listen to us than my own community. Our own community is like, ain't gonna listen. With that being said, man, you know, we're gonna keep doing our thing. We're gonna keep preaching fighting a good fight, but you know,
hey, look, we doing our godly duty. You know what I'm saying? We trying to put the information out there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look,
right.
if they choose to chew on it, you know what I'm saying, and accept it, that's a personal journey. You know what I'm saying? But we putting the information out there, trying to educate these folks and trying to help them see something a little bit different than what they see on a daily basis.
Gotcha. With that being said, man, we're gonna see y'all next week.
Later.
Peace.